and a very good day from Mr. Kit Kat and me. Happy days, hey? Happy face. There we go. He was most unimpressed yesterday, not being able to join in as I had the door closed, and he didn't like that at all. So despite the glum face that he usually gives, he does like to be here to greet. Hey, all right. So off we go. Continuing with this piece, it's all looking rather scratchy and rough at this point. It'll probably continue to do so. Anyway, just as a side note, our lovely high definition is brought to you by the fiber from ks3.com. So thanks to them for supplying that. Nice crisp solution every time. Right, let me continue. Today, as promised, I'm going to start adding in some color. What you won't be able to see from from the video, I don't think, I very much doubt it, is the different tones of charcoal that I'm using here. This one I'm using now is fairly black. I'm just seeing here it's picking up one of the other ones that I've been using is it's got a brown tint to it, brownish tint. Quite interesting. There's always different grades. Well, not only different grades, but also different colorings depending on the wood. Excuse me, the wood used, I guess, or the amount of time it's taken to bake in the process. So yeah, these little things do kind of make a difference as well, and also add to the layers of a piece. Yeah, I think it's time to add some color. I think I stink. I think I'm going to start with a very bright yellow. As I said, we've got this little this pathway through the forest, and oh yay, I am forearmed today with Raid, or rather insect repellent, or rather insect deadent, so that these damn mosquitoes don't get to me. And that's a moth. Okay. Now, yes, so there's this little pathway through the forest, and it's of twists and turns and what have you, and it's for the most part you're kind of completely covered with the surrounding forest, the canopy and what have you, and it's fairly close in, and then every now and again it'll open up and you'll get sunlight streaming through, and then lighting the foliage, because you can't see that far ahead, but in the clearing of the path you can see a bit further down, way up into the trees, as the sunlight lights the leaves of the trees and so on. So you get this nice effect of depth of field and what have you. So I'm looking to capture that as best as possible. Just gives a bit of a story and energy to the whole piece. So there's that colour. I also want to use a little bit of this colour. It's a sort of a more pale green. Similar tonal value to the yellow. Just to mix that up a little bit. And then there's slightly darker green. Just want to get this going for now, not to fill it out completely, just to give an idea of where that one, and this one a little bit as well. Now it's more of a mustard colour. I'm just getting the palette going so far. Nice thing about working over the charcoal is that it adds a wonderful depth to it. Let me just give a little bit of a spray here, because I do not want these little bastards on my feet. Yeah. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Hey, Kit Kat. And also just to give myself an idea of how I'm using this palette of colour, where I'm using it, etc. Just to remind myself of what I've got to work with. And the colour isn't everywhere, unlike most other pieces. It's selective. We're coming out of this darkness, and that's what I want to hold on to, this dark, almost no light into this wonderful little oasis of colour. And then it it sort of just blends out into gets darker and darker into the surrounding foliage, etc. As I said yesterday, I think it was, the addition of colour, the introduction of colour always completely, it brings about a complete transformation. I'm sure you can see that now, even at this stage. Just adding a hint of colour here and there, this brings out a completely different story. Okay. Now I just want to temper all of this brightness with yellow. Actually, let me add some more in first. I want to add a little bit of this sort of a marigold hint here and there. Right. And you'll also see, and it's perhaps just an effect that's brought about by me being right-handed and the direction of my strokes with my wrist action, is that we've got this direction, almost a very subtle directional flow of all of this, almost looking like one of those sort of almost blurry sort of daguerreotype images. There's this dreamlike quality, perhaps. It's slightly out of focus movement. So it's almost like the waves that I work with when I work with water. There's this, and just according to the way my wrist goes, where I'm working. That's how that's happened. I think I noticed it in one of the progress images I was sharing yesterday. Quite interesting, quite an interesting phenomenon, if you want to call it a phenomenon. And I actually quite want to work with that as well, and develop that a little bit even. But it is subtle, given that I wasn't aware of it as it was rolling out yesterday. So you see what I mean now when I say that in the development of an artwork, it's equally as exciting for me as it is for somebody watching it come together. Very, very much so. Yes, it's almost like it's almost as if you're emerging from a tunnel, and it's exactly what it is. A jungle tunnel, because the vegetation is very dense, and then you'll just see through a little bit, and you might see some of a stream down to the side of the path, and you'll catch the glint of sunlight on water, or catch the foamy progress of the stream, and every now and again, but then you won't see it; it'll disappear again. Right, and now I just want to touch on this a little bit with my eraser. And I'm just working in an oscillating fashion. Let's try and peel some of this. Is it one of these? Is it one of the yucky, sticky ones, or is it? It's not too bad. This one. That's more the plastic. It's the plastic version. Right. obviously beyond the dense forest at the lower levels, up above that these trees stretch high up to the canopy. And all you'll see of this piece, if you're looking close up, at any stage, it's all just squiggles really. It's all just doodling. And that's what I find to be such fun about working on with this mixed medium. And the eraser, let's use a little bit of that green as well. Oh, and that green as well. Okay. So the eraser also serves to get all these colors blending and working together, and then later on in the process I shall start working with a little bit of detail, not that you can really call it detail because it's still just scribbles, but something that appears a little bit crisper, clarity, closer perhaps. The hint of a different kind of plant or leaf or something, a different color perhaps. At this stage, all I really want to do is blend it. This is just a layer that I'm working with. So I have my base layer of charcoal that sets the composition and essential the areas of light and dark. And now adding color at the basis of it, again transforming the piece a little bit, but still keeping still maintaining the basis of composition, etc. But now it takes on a more dimension, and the more I add to it, the more dimension it gets, the more depth of field, etc., etc. And as I've said before, I can also draw with my eraser if I choose to. Shan't do that just yet though, but it'll come in handy later on, further on down the line. course, I do want to add a hint of the blue, the hues of blues, Huey Lewis in the News, into the deep shadow, some of the deep shadow areas, or even the lighter shadow areas. Just casting that lovely. This is a beautiful, almost luminous lilac. And it's just lovely for the edge of shade. Again, more dimension. And I can just literally hint at it, and it will visually bring such impact, even though you can't quite see at this point. It will overall it will add another quality of an essence to this piece. I don't want it to be dense in its application, so I'm just hinting at it. Right. I didn't check the time when I started. So I might be either 5 minutes early or 5 minutes late. Or on time, I don't know. Right, now I believe it's time to use a little bit of compressed charcoal. Okay, I need to build this slowly and carefully. Because compressed charcoal is a lot darker. It's about the darkest you can get with, even it's I believe even darker than the black pastel. this is where some of my proper contrast is brought about. And I'll use it extensively around this way as I start to depict these leaves and branches that are encroaching. So only in spots that there's this real darkness. Everything else is just kind of, there's always light finds its way through, either through reflection or direct sunlight. And that's I guess another thing about the medium, both charcoal and pastel, is that they're not, unlike if I was painting, you don't place down flat color, solid color. It's always, so it lends itself to a great deal of layering, translucency, transparency. So each and every medium has its upsides, has its qualities that some people enjoy, others not so much. I'm not really a fan of, in terms of as an artist, the use of, I'm not really a fan of watercolors at all, and gouache and those kinds of paints. If I'm going to paint, I prefer acrylics. I don't mind oils so much, but I just don't like the time that they take to. I like to get things, I like to work fairly rapidly through something. As you've noticed, I like to get on with it, and a new piece every week. If this was an oil painting, it I don't know. I suppose I could do it in the same way, but it would just take forever to dry. No, not only that, it's oil paints are very expensive, and so are acrylics really comparatively. Whereas, even though these pastels and charcoals aren't exactly cheap, they're nowhere near what oils and acrylics are. In particular, oils is the top end of the spectrum. It's very expensive, especially if you're using a lot of it. It becomes exorbitant. So you could play a lot with using, and this is what attracted me to this particular combination of mediums, was just playing with how they work together, their synergy. And others might not have discovered this particular combination of charcoal and pastel. Um, some might have and discarded it. I really enjoy it. I guess it's just like perhaps an author has a favorite. Their way of telling telling a story comes through time and again. So you can pick up a novel, and you'll be able to tell from the style of writing, or familiarize yourself almost immediately with the author. So I guess in the same way, if you look at a body of my work, you'll start to see that kind of similarity in style, technique, what have you, throughout my work, becoming much more consistent now over the years. And that's why I want to start mixing it up in terms of venturing into the abstract and using different mediums, different surfaces, perhaps. A little bit of black conte here now, just to kind of, it's a much harder piece than compressed charcoal, sorry, but it is blacker than charcoal, and it kind of bridges the gap quite nicely. That's why you like to use it, especially on the other end of the spectrum with white, to use the white, both the white pastel together with the conte. And that can be a little bit more subtle with it as well, with the application. And what I like about all of these, how they work together, is each one blends with the other one, blends the other one, helps it spread it. Charcoals do the same thing to the pastels. I'd suggest that the conte crayons are a little bit more waxy, if you want it, more towards the, but not quite wax crayons in their consistency, composition rather. And with this piece, more than many, I allow for the observer, the viewer, for your mind to fill in what isn't there, what isn't shown. So to complete the story. So I start it's like, it's almost as if I would start the sentence and you finish it. That's what this piece is about. There's a hint of everything. I'm telling you, I'm describing to you as I go what is happening here. However, to somebody who hasn't been a part of this process on YouTube and who just sees this piece for the first time complete, another story will emerge for them. It might not be a pathway. Might be something else. Might be a little glade. I don't know. But there is definitely this interplay of light and shade, and you can immediately tell, I believe, that you're emerging from something into the light. So a whole bunch of metaphors arise, and that's what I like about the depiction of these pieces. Just it engages with interpretation, or allows for a great deal of interpretation. I'm not going to be depicting any specific trees. There's going to be a hint. You can see there's a smudge there, a few smudges, darker smudges, and I'll work with those a little more, but there's going to be sort of leaves hanging, but there's nothing specific that I am depicting. Nothing absolutely identifiable. But if you've been in a place like this, if you've walked through a forest like this, your mind will start to, wherever you are in the world, your mind will complete it in terms of, that's what it is. So your mind looks through your vault of experiences, selects similarities, cross-references, etc., from all that you know, all of your experiences, and will draw a conclusion, or put together, patch together a story from all those experiences. So this piece will have a different meaning for everyone who views it. Any piece of art, for that matter, is the same. It has the same effect. Introduce some more. So let's put some lilac in over here, darker, slightly more. See, what I'm not depicting here is detail, specifics, like I've been saying. What I am depicting is texture. And the texture is what gives rise to the interpretation. Changes in direction, little hints of something, some little detail that emerges through a squiggle. Just the eye just attaches to it and follows that thread. Just like we do with life. Why something captures our attention, and why do we engage with it in the first place, and why do we follow it? What meaning does it have? Do we discard it? Why do we discard it? Should we discard it? I just want to kind of add in here and there this hint of little branches and twigs, etc., that would break the kind of monotony, if there is any. Again, this piece is coming together now a little bit slower. A little bit slower, slow the pace down. I mean, by the time this piece is complete, you'll be filling in all sorts of little mushrooms and what have you, even though they're not depicted, simply because of a hinted color, a something, dappled light. and slowly it begins to emerge, whatever it is it's meant to emerge. Just want to check what the timing is on this video feed. Just if you'll give me a second. Yes, we have got 5 minutes left, which means that my timer was right in the first place. Morning, Hardy Dawes. So now just adding in perceived detail here and there. Layering. That's all it is. And yet through the layering I can see the base charcoal that I began with yesterday, and I will at all times, so that gives it that real sense of depth of field, which is wonderful. That's really what I love about this particular medium. And I don't have to use this perceived detail everywhere throughout the artwork. It can just be a hint and be more expansive in other areas. That's all it takes. So it becomes almost subliminal, that the mind automatically fills in the rest of the story according to your experiences as the observer. It might be just how the sun picks out a particular spot, and it reminds you of something somewhere. a similar dappled light, or it's always what it is. It's just purely triggers. Not that one. I think we're nearing full time now. Right. I think that's it for today. Made some significant progress, of course, with the addition of color. So happy with where that's going. Of course, I shall work more with the deep blues and whatever, that subtlety of blue that comes in on that side tomorrow. Right, peoples, thank you for joining. Thank you for bearing with me in my mental meanderings, as I like to call them. And yes, thanks to ks3.com for providing or part providing our internet connection with good old fiber. It's made a huge difference to the delivery of these artworks, these sessions. So yes, I hope you're enjoying so far, and as the story unfolds. So it's good to have you with me. So do take care, oodles and oodles of toodles, and I shall catch you again during our next session. And in the meantime, be good, be safe, be kind, be gentle, and see you again on the morrow. Bye then. Don't forget to doodle.